Hey guys, I'm back again and I'm here to do a little video to just give you guys some recommendations of books that I feel like could, either get you back to reading or lift your spirits a little bit. Because I know with the pandemic going on, I've noticed people are having difficulty, picking a book and then starting to read it and then not being able to finish. The anxiety is real. And I mean, I'm here in France and we're on total lockdown. So you're not supposed to be out of the house unless you're going to a doctor's appointment or, the pharmacy or to the supermarket. You got to have paper to get out of the house. If you haven't got the paper, the police stop you. Boom, 130 euros if your paperwork is not in order. If you are a reoccurring offender, 1,500. Okay, so what am I doing? Keeping my ass in the house. Okay, I'm an asthmatic, so I cannot get this. No, not happening here. So I'm hankering down in the house. I've been a little bit silent again here on my YouTube channel, but I'm getting back into it. I've got some videos lined up, and so I'm gonna be getting back into it, okay? Because my reading is just a bit slower, but not, just because of the pandemic. It's mostly because of the BookTube prize judging. I had to read 3 books in February, and I read 3 books in March, and that put me 5 books behind in my 100 book goal for this year. But I am not despairing. I am going to catch up if it's the last thing I do. So let's get started with my recommendations. Okay, so first recommendation, of course, as you know, is The Last Thing You Surrender. This is by Leonard Pitts Jr. This was the Read So Lit book that I chose for the read along in February. It was fantastic. I mean, this book could give you a book hangover because it was so damn good. 5 stars. You're not going to get any better than this. It's a perfect story. Just beautifully written, beautiful, well done story. Sucks you in right from the beginning, and you just don't want to sit there and read right through. So this is one to really get you on, get you back into reading if you're having some difficulty. Trust me, this one is so good. I did a live along with Tatiana from Musical Tati and Michael from Michael Reads. And we also had the pleasure of having the author Leonard Pitts Jr. join us for the second hour of our discussion. I'm going to link that below so that you can watch it. I would say only watch it if you've read the book, because we talk about everything in there, so it's not spoiler free. Okay, so that's book 1. Book 2 is Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. Now, I picked this book because it's not necessarily a 5-star book, but it is a book that breaks down creativity in a way that she's saying to you, you can be creative if you want to. Creativity is not something that you're just sort of like born with. It's something that you build, So being that we're in, the lockdown situation or social distancing, this is a good way to spark some creativity that you thought you didn't have, and this book really talks about that, and talks about ways in which people become creative, or, they find something and it becomes something that's creative. So I would suggest this for people that are doubting that they have a creative bone in their body, because everybody does. They just don't know how to exploit it. And, I think it's one that I might reread, because I can get a little doubtful about my creativity, and, I'm just like, make me think, girl, you can do it. You can do it. So this is a book that will help you in that endeavor. Okay, this next book, this is like an old love. This is Bryce Courtney's The Power of Love. Okay, now, this book takes place, and it's a chunker too. Like, this one is 629 pages, but it is so worth it. This is a book that takes place in South Africa, and the main character is an English boy, and it's so good because it takes place during apartheid. So you get a lot of the historical things that are going on in South Africa, in apartheid South Africa, through the eyes of this young English white boy and his connection to the country itself. Such a good, sweeping novel. This was suggested to me when I was living in Cairo many years ago by a German friend of mine. Her name was Evelyn. Evelyn used to always give me great recommendations, and this was one of the ones that she recommended for me to read. And this novel just sucked me in, and I couldn't put it down. It was just so good. It has a boxing element that goes in it, and I don't really particularly like boxing, but this book made me see boxing in a different light. That's all I'm going to say. Very memorable characters, well-written story, sweeping novel. It's very epic. I highly recommend this one. It's so good, The Power of One. This next one, now, this is kind of like, this one is called The Secret Lives of Dresses by Erin McKean. Now, this one I also read a long, long time ago. I'm not sure why I picked it up. I think it was the cover, actually. I think I bought this one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think I bought this one in Paris, in W.H. Smith, I think it was. But this is a novel about a young woman who has to go back home to take care of her grandmother, I think it is. And her grandmother owns a thrift shop where she sells all of these old dresses. And the hook is, when you go there to buy a dress, once you get home, you're going to find there's like a note inside of this dress that has something pertaining to the dress that the woman puts inside of each one. So it's kind of a sentimental, little sappy story, but you know what? We need a little bit of sentimental and sappy in our lives when we're going through what we're going through now. So this is a quick read, enjoyable, and I kind of liked it, you know, so I must have a sappy side somewhere, but I really liked it. I thought it was, you know, like a good read. Okay, the next one is The Case of the Missing Servant by Turquin Hall. This is the first book in the detective series called the Vishpuri detective series, and this one takes place in India. Oh my God, I love this series. Now, I've only read the first two. I'm not sure how many there are. I'm going to see if I can find it. I'll put it here. But I've read the first two. This is book one. And the thing I like about this is Vishpuri is similar to an Indian version of Hercule Poirot from Agatha Christie, except it all takes place in India. There is some fantastic descriptions of Indian dishes in here. Such a good read. It's fast, but you know, if you're looking for a mystery that's a little bit out of the ordinary, that's different, I recommend this one. It's really good because if you like India and you like stories that are based in India, you get all of that Indian culture and stuff. It's really good. The guy that writes it is British though, I think, but it's still really good. The next book I have is The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz. I read this the year it came out, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Okay, so family story, and it kind of goes between US and Santo Domingo. And you have this family which is composed of the mother, the daughter, and the son. And it's interesting because through the story that's told, you not only follow the connection of this family of three, but you see their connection to Santo Domingo, and it talks about also that connection between this family and the island of Santo Domingo and the dictator back in the day, Trujillo, and how there's a family curse and how this is affecting this family and their integration in the U.S. Now, the thing about this book is when you're reading it, okay, so you're going to have the story above here, and then you're going to have down here footnotes. Okay, so the thing about this book is the footnotes are important because it is a parallel story that's going on in the footnotes that's important to you understanding the culture and where these people come from. And it's so good. Like, it's just brilliant. I mean, this is a five-star book. I mean, Wonderful writing. The main character is this sort of geeky kind of, you know, guy, and you get sucked in really easily. But the parallel story is very interesting as well. If you don't know, I don't know anything about, you know, the island, but I enjoyed reading it and learning things about this past history of this dictator who was ruthless. So yeah, I highly recommend this one. The next book is Like a Mule Bringing Ice Cream to the Sun by Sarah Ladipo Manica. Now this one is published by one of my favorite publishers, independent publishers. It's Cassava Republic. And you notice Cassava Republic by these covers. They usually have this brown band at the bottom and some kind of colorful cover. This one is written about a woman of, I think she's supposed to be about 70 years old. She drives around in a Porsche. She's this fabulous woman of color who used to be, in her earlier years, was a literary professor. Now, the thing about this, I just love this. I mean, it's really short, this book, but it's joyful in a way. And it focuses on a character that is older, and that we don't often get. What I really liked about this one was how the main character, being that she was a literary professor, she had all of these books. And what she would do is she would put her books on the shelves by who she thought, as if she thought they would be friends in real life, like as if they were people. And I just thought that was just fantastic. You know, it's like, yeah, your books are like people, so you put them next to each other because you think they should meet and things. I just thought that was brilliant. But it's a little gem, this one. It's not a book that's often talked about, which I think is sad, because this young woman she's a really good writer. Sarah Ladipo Manica, here she is right here. She's a really good writer, and this story is just really special. So, and it will uplift you and make you think about some other things, you know. Think about things more simplistic compared to what we're going through now. This next one, Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo. Okay, now, this one right here, this one is just going to make your jaw drop. And you are just going to be in it for the long run. And I can guarantee you it won't take you more than a week to read this book. So good. She was robbed. She should have won the Women's Prize that year when her book was nominated. But she didn't win. But anyway, very good book that talks about polygamy and African cultural beliefs and rituals and just superstition and family ties. How when you get married, you know, you are totally entwined into your new family, and you know what that can involve, especially when you don't have a personal family of your own. It's just fantastic. The writing is really good and the storytelling is amazing. So if you haven't read Stay With Me, yeah, this is a good one. This one, I promise you, this one will get you back into reading. Next on my list, I have Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. This was the first Octavia Butler that I read. I think I read this one maybe about 5 years ago. I absolutely loved it. Was sucked in immediately. This is more like on the fantasy side more than the sci-fi, but it involves a woman whose name is Dana, and she is projected back to the antebellum South, although she comes from the period of 1976. Just an awesome read, and just, I mean, come on now. The first two lines of the book are, I lost an arm on my last trip home, my left arm. So when you read that in the beginning, you're just sort of like, what? You know, and you get really curious about what's happening. Love the story. There's a lot of complex themes in here, in spite of what some people may think. It's just awesome. I mean, this book right here, food for thought. Next book on my list is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, and that's by Gail Honeyman. Okay, now I read this one, I think it was last year with my book club. I wasn't really sure what to expect from this book because it had been so hyped up. I think it was the year before. that. And so I'm always, now with the bandwagon, I don't always trust the masses, but this one, I was highly surprised how much I liked this book, because the main character is Eleanor Oliphant, and she is quite the character. I don't know, I guess you could say she's maybe on the spectrum or something, or a little bit of a recluse. But the way she's written, the main character is just phenomenal. It's very believable, and as unlikable as she is presented to be, by the end of the book, you really love this character. It's just phenomenal. Very well done story. It's not too long. It's, about 380 something pages, but like I said, this one reads really quickly as well, because there's something in it that kind of like draws you in, and you can't stop reading. I highly recommend this one. It's really good. And last but not least, I have Some Sing Some Cry, and that's by Ntozake Shange and her sister Ifa Bayeza. Now, this book was written, it's a duo written by two authors, two sisters. Everybody knows Ntozake Shange. She wrote To For Color Girls, Betsy Brown, and Lillian, and Sassafras, Cypress, and Indigo. But this one is one that is a generational storyline. I think it goes through 7 generations, if I'm not mistaken. This book has some memorable characters, just fantastic. So it incorporates history, it talks about race, it talks about American history, it talks about roles, gender roles, it just talks about music. Music is a theme that runs through the book completely. So you're going to get music from all the way back from the beginning of slavery all the way up until I think it goes to the beginning of 1980s, I think it is. It's just fantastic read. One that it's like a sweeping, long, epic novel. Yes, it's long, but I promise you the length is, you won't even be looking at the length, because you'll start reading and before you know it, you'll be finished. Very memorable characters. Writing is good too, but there is something, because it's written by two authors, you can tell that when there's a switch in the writing. So you just have to adapt to that. In the beginning, I found it kind of strange, but I quickly got used to it, because then I said, okay, yeah, I just put it in my mind, yeah, they're two writers, so get over it. But besides that, it's still really, really good, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for something to read that's interesting. So that is what I am suggesting to you as recommendations. Comment below if you have other recommendations, or if you've read any of these and how you felt about them. Let's get a discussion going, because we need something to take our mind off of all of this lockdown stuff. Okay, I'll be back real soon with another video.